Get ready, Staten Island. It's time to celebrate 5 years of Ferry Hawks baseball.
Tuesday, May 19th at 10:30 a.m., it's morning baseball. Wednesday, May 20th at 6:30 p.m., have a pawsome time at Bark in the Park. Thursday, May 21st at 6:30, it's Pride Night with $5 Bud or Bud Light draft beer. Individual game tickets start at just $12.
Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi!
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Well, President Trump made a decision. He did not endorse Senator Corwin.
John Cornyn.
And he endorsed Paxton.
Yeah, that's a biggie because it sounded like he might not endorse anybody. And Cornyn is the sitting senator. He's the incumbent who's running. Paxton, the attorney general. And he knew both of them, said he likes both of them. And just came out a little bit ago. This is huge news because Ken Paxton, we were talking about the polls of late, John, in Texas.
It's a dead heat.
It's a dead heat. But a couple weeks ago, because Cornyn's the incumbent, he was doing better. And Paxton was doing okay, but on the rise. And then in the latest polls, it shows he clearly is having momentum. And that obviously clearly played a role, I think, also with President Trump.
Well, in the studio with us today, we have Judge Richard Weinberg. We have Craig Eaton, the GOP chairman, and a special guest, Governor George Pataki, who's going to be the honoree this year in September 11th for 25 years since 9/11. And you were the hero of that day, that week, that month.
Well, thank you, John, but the hero really were the people who responded with such courage, the police officers, the firefighters, the EMTs, and all the construction workers and just people from every walk of life who really put their lives on the line to try to save their fellow human beings. And so I will be forever proud of how New Yorkers respond 25 years later, even though I'm still extremely saddened by the tremendous loss.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it's 25 years.
I know.
I can't believe it. And I think about the threats to the homeland, too. I mean, just recently, there was the guy who was plotting to go after the synagogues here in New York. I mean, the threat, New York still sadly remains such a pivotal, target.
There's no big event. So that shows you that they are scared that the American people come together and wipe them out.
And as we would.
And that's what happened. That's what happened in 2011. 2001.
2001,
yeah. And all American people, Democrats and Republicans, came together. We went into the wrong target originally. We went to Iraq instead of going to Afghanistan. And but that's
we finally got him. Years later, we finally got him.
You're absolutely right. When we stand together, we can accomplish anything. And one of the few good things that came out of those horrible attacks was the sense of unity the Americans have. And my greatest concern today is we seem so fractured. People lose friendships because they have different political views. And Abraham Lincoln said it best: a house divided against itself cannot stand. We have got to come together, or we're not going to continue to succeed.
Well, we have a problem.
That's a good point.
And that is what's happening right now. In Texas, of all places, President Trump decided on Attorney General Paxton versus John Cornyn.
Yep.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be, this is, as you talk about the midterms too, Governor, and sort of as we're talking about all these things, we are so divided right now. It saddens me. And it's like two different worlds, too. If you look at sort of what, let's even talk the Texas race, for example. The guy who is running on the Democratic side, this guy, James Tallarico, he came out and said that there are 5 genders. He came out and said, he seems incredibly divisive with his rhetoric. It's like, we use the phrase sane and insane.
And yet he could win. And one of my concerns over the president's endorsement is, I don't know Paxton. I have no reason not to be for him if he's the nominee. But my concern is just, I want to make sure we win. If we lose control of the Senate, President Trump's last 2 years are going to be a nightmare. He won't be able to get anybody confirmed to any position in his cabinet. He won't be able to get any judges confirmed. And they'll be out there trying to impeach him every day of the week. And we will have 2 years where he just is unable to accomplish anything. So my view is whoever has the best chance of winning, they're both going to vote with President Trump more than 90% of the time, whereas Tallarico probably wouldn't vote with him 10% of the time. So
maybe
that's my view.
Maybe 1%.
Maybe 1.
Craig
You
Eaton.
know, first, I just want to say I respect and admire your humility, Governor, but on 9/11, we needed leadership, and you produced that leadership. You stepped up on behalf of all New Yorkers in New York State, and you led, and that's what all these people needed. But I just want to go to the Paxton thing for a second. Is in my personal opinion, I think it makes sense for the president to stay out of these races, because if he goes too close with one candidate, then they're going to tar and feather that candidate when he goes into the general election. He should be hands off, let the candidates fight it out among themselves so they don't have a MAGA hat on them, and they have a better chance of winning in the general.
Your thoughts, Judge Weinberg? You're sitting there shaking your head, agreeing.
Well, listen, I think that both the governor and the chairman are absolutely correct. You should have stayed out of it. If he's going to endorse anybody, he should have endorsed the incumbent Senator Cornyn. Cornyn worked with Senator Thune as majority leader, Barrasso as majority whip. They were the guys who said he's the best candidate. He's a much easier candidate to vote for in November than Paxton, because Paxton has his baggage. That's not to say in a choice between whatever his name is, a Democrat, the kid who's a radical lefty, is totally out of his mind. He goes in the insane category in terms of his values.
He makes AOC look like Clint Eastwood.
So the short answer is, but do you really want to jeopardize, to the governor's point, do you really want to jeopardize the control of the United States Senate in these important times? Because not only will you not get the federal judges through and the cabinet appointees, you need to have a unified country to fight all our external enemies, and these people will undercut his ability to do foreign policy and national security. You need to have a Republican Senate and House.
Well, speaking of foreign policy, here's some breaking news.
Breaking news, WABC.
President Trump just saying that we may need to give Iran another big hit. He's saying he's going to wait at least a few days to a week to maybe give peace a chance through his Arab allies like UAE and Qatar and Saudi. But he says, if not, be prepared. We are putting Iran on notice.
I mean, I can understand President Trump, and I see heads shaking. It's the fact is, I could see the fact that the more we destroy, the more we're going to have to fix up. Because we're going to win the war. But at the end of the day, the more we destroy, it's our responsibility to put it back up again.
But we want victory, too.
I'd like to hear from Governor Pataki and Craig. And,
what do you think, Gov? I mean, I think we need victory, too. That's the other thing.
I think the idea that the crazy Iranian, whatever they call themselves,
the
Revolutionary Guard,
Yeah.
are going to be in control of nuclear-capable powder, missiles capable of hitting anywhere in Europe, would be a catastrophe. So now that we're in the war, I think we have to make sure that they don't have any nuclear capacity and that their hands are tied from attacking anyone else.
I agree.
I just don't see, how long is this going to continue where, well, there's peace because we're making progress and I know I have to bomb them again. Oh, there's peace. Now we have to bomb them again. At some point, the threat becomes idle after you've made it a half dozen times. So it's time to either have a resolution or do something.
Craig Eaton.
And every day that goes by, Governor, they're closer and closer to getting nuclear weapons. So, I mean, we need to stop them now. But he keeps threatening. A couple of weeks ago, Secretary of State Rubio said, we're ready, we're going to attack again if nothing happens. Now, 2 weeks later, the president, we're going to attack again.
On the other hand, he's giving peace a chance. I'll give him credit for that.
But we can't keep posturing like this.
He's giving the regime the ability to consolidate power, execute more dissidents, and make it more difficult to bring them down.
Agreed.
That's what he's doing.
Agreed.
Finish it. And then we're going to go to General Jack Keane, but go ahead, finish.
Yeah, I think we'd all hope that the Iranian regime would finally say, okay, we understand, we're giving it up. But there comes a point where you can't just negotiate until next year. You have to either hold them accountable and take the necessary action or have an agreement that we can live with. And it's time for one or the other to happen.
I don't know, you weren't here, but I compared the Iranian regime to the Planet of the Apes, the chimpanzees and the gorillas. The gorillas are in charge right now. The chimpanzees, which is supposed to be the smarter of the Iranian people, they're not necessarily in charge.